So Samir is with us, and he will be explaining about this. So before that, I'll read some safe harbor statement. So both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity. So we are not representing our companies here, and it's just for learning purpose only. And yeah, so not meant for any promotional activities. So some housekeeping. So we are recording this, and a recording of this will be uploaded to our YouTube page and events page as well within 24 hours. And questions, feel free to ask anything at any moment in the chat, or you can, we have enabled mics, so you can ask anytime directly with the speaker. Give us feedback, so we do look at that. Yeah. So we have two organizers for this event. So myself, I'll introduce. My name Shubham, and I'm working as a professional integration developer in Millennium. So I'm a MuleSoft mentor. So that's all about me. Over to you, Giri.
Yep. Thank you, Shubham. Good morning, everybody. So, thanks for joining us today. So, myself, Giridhar, I'm a certified developer and architect in both Mule and AWS, working as a senior architect at Ashdin. So, I take care of few MuleSoft accounts at Ashdin. So, as like Shubham mentioned, when it comes to feedback, please feel free to submit your feedback post the session. So, it can be a correction or suggestion, anything. So, whatever you feel. So, based on your suggestions, we will come up with the new topics. And coming to today's topic, today we have Samir to explain us about Anypoint DataGraph. So how we can consume and then reuse the APIs in the faster way by utilizing um, Anypoint DataGraph. So this is his first presentation in the meetup. So please encourage him. So we have turned all of your mics. If you have any questions, you can speak up or you can put it in the chat. So we will take up the questions and then we'll address those in the Q&A session. Q&A section. Okay. Over to you, Samir. All the best. You can
Yeah,
share your screen
thanks,
and then
Gary.
start. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, all. Uh, Let me share my screen. Hope you're able to see my screen.
Yep.
Yes, it's up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Again, good morning, all. Myself, Samir Biswas. I am a MuleSoft certified developer. I have around 3+ years of experience in MuleSoft and working as a MuleSoft developer at Hastin by Deloitte. So, in my past, I have worked on different systems like SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, Snowflake, and many more. So, I am also a AWS Cloud Practitioner certified. So, this is all pretty much about me. So, let's jump into the today's. Today's agenda is about data graph, Anypoint data graph. So first we will look into the what is GraphQL. Then we'll jump into the Anypoint data graph, its benefits, its limitation, and authentication mechanism, and followed by demo. So if in between, if you have any queries, question, please put in the chat, or you can stop me in between and ask me. And if my pace is too fast, please let me know. I'll go slow. So first is what is GraphQL? So it is a query language for REST APIs, basically for APIs our. And it is developed by Facebook in 2012 and it make public to in 2015. So it is same like we have other SQL queries like in DB we using SQL queries, right? So same thing in APIs. For APIs we have GraphQL for querying REST APIs. So we already have the REST APIs and SOAP APIs, then why we need this GraphQL? uh, the main thing is that. So first point is like in REST APIs, it is well structured and managed, and when data are more complex and it is interconnected, it is very difficult to fetch in a single request. Means using single request, we cannot fetch multiple data from different APIs. So in such scenarios, GraphQL is very useful, and using a single endpoint, we can queries multiple APIs and aggregate those datas and perform many operations on that. So this is the way we use mm, in REST APIs. We use this, but and one more example I can say, like REST APIs, like if you all have seen like vending machine, like you put a coin and whatever you want, just press the number and you get your items, right? And same thing is REST APIs. Means one by one. Means if I want, suppose I want a cold drink and water bottle, but then I can go one by one. I put a coin and then press number, and I get one water bottle, and then again next time I have to do the same thing. So we cannot do at a once, but using GraphQL, we have a single endpoint, and using single query, we can retrieve whatever we want, not more, not less. So this is the benefit, and it makes developer easier job. Like uh, we can fetch datas and whatever data we want, and in the it is support a dynamic query. Means we can run the queries at a runtime and see the actual result, means how it came. And some of the example, like big giants using GraphQL today's, like Amazon, Microsoft, PayPal, Facebook is also using GitHub, Airbnb, and many more. These are the some few example. So they are all using GraphQL internally. So yeah. So Anypoint DataGraph. So this is the new features added in Anypoint platform. Mm, It was in to 2021, June 2021. It was made public in Anypoint platform. So this is the newly features added, and data graph is based on the top of GraphQL. Means internally data graph using GraphQL. So uh, so all the features, like whatever data GraphQL provide us, it's all comes in data graph also. Like it support dynamic queries, and it provides a single endpoint, and using that we can fetch whatever we want. And it is based it is actually Anypoint DataGraph is a SaaS, means software as a service. So we no need to worry about managing the infrastructure or a data server or anything. Means Anypoint platform take cares about all these things. So you just have to uh, query what and get the result. And it it reduces the developer efforts. Like I already said, like we can call multiple APIs and aggregate the response with Anypoint DataGraph. And it is all UI based, no need to do any coding. Means it is all uh, user friendly or graphical things, like just a configuration kind of things. We have to configure your APIs, add your API into data graph, and you can manage everything. No need to code any sort of things. Just you have to configure your APIs to use data graph. And yeah, we can request only the data you want, no more, no less. We'll see how we can use these things in our demo part. So this is the, I'll show you. Yeah, so this is the landing page of data graph. This is the landing page. So if you have a trial account, please means I'm using the trial account, not the org label. So you can also try with the trial account and just log in, and you are able to see these features in the landing page only. See this data graph. And from here we can add our APIs and we can manage. So we'll see in the demo. Yeah, so now coming to its benefits. Yeah, coming back to its benefits, it reduces the development effort and maintenance. Like it's run on a SaaS, so we no need to worry about its maintenance things, and its deployment, maintenance, and everything. It all take care by the Anypoint platform only. And request whatever we want, just we have to request and we get it. No more, no less data. And developer does not, like we already said, like we don't need to write any code to fetch data. We get using a single endpoints. So that is what, and we just need to configure some of the APIs. That's all. And it manages we in data graph we have to means it is basically a unified schema followed. Means in API you have a schema, right? We design in a design center API specification. So that API specification is take care by data graph, and it creates its own unified schema. Means from that schema, from your API schema specification, it creates its data graph, create his own schema on the top of that, and manage all the APIs within that. So it follows that unified schemas, and it allow to means we can query multiple APIs within that. Yeah. So now we'll see the scenario one, like use case in the real world, how it's work. So first thing is like we have a customer API, and from customer API we are getting this kind of data like customer ID, first name, last name, contact, order date, this kind of things. And we have a business requirement, like one is mobile application and one is web application. And mobile user wants only these four fields, and web application needs this details, eight fields. So what should be approach, like if just for now just replace this data graph and think as a REST APIs, means how it work as a REST API. So for that we need to create two APIs, right? One for mobile application and one for this web application. And within that we can fetch data from customer sys API, and separately we can manage like one mobile application experience API and one web application experience API, right? And suppose in future we have more such in future the business requirement changes and some more system came into the picture, like IoT or some MI or ML, machine learning, and other things. So in that scenarios you have to again come up with one more experience APIs, and so same thing we have to do. So so data graph makes our job very much easier in such scenarios, uh, like in this case. So data graph is just connected with this customer service API, and it will get the result. Means whatever mobile application want, it will retrieve that result. And same thing it does for web application also. No need to uh, come up with the different experience APIs for this customer APIs. That all taken care by this Anypoint data graph. And not only this, it will aggregate your result also. Like in this case we are means separating the result, right? Means some fields in mobile and some fields in web. But in other scenarios, we can combine this result also. Means if data are coming from different source and we want to aggregate, so in that scenarios also we can do that. So this is the scenario one, and yeah, I'm talking about this one, the second one. In this, the client needs the aggregate of both the APIs. Means there is a customer APIs and there is a order API, and we want aggregate of or combination of both the APIs result. So for that, again, if we go with the REST API approach, we have to uh, call customer APIs, and again we have to call order sys APIs, and then in experience API we merge this result and give back the result to the client. Right? This is the correct approach. But in Anypoint DataGraph, we do not need to do all those things. Just we have to add these two APIs in Anypoint DataGraph platform, and we can easily manage these things. uh, just like whatever client need, we can give back the result to the client. So, and it data graph is actually manages data in the form of graph. Means as its name suggests, data graph means whatever data in present in your APIs, it create a graph out of that, and give back the result to the users or end users in the form of graph. So this is the thing, and yeah. So now its limitations, means it, how, what are the limitations? So data graph supports the mutations. So big changes in means this mutation is recently added in Anypoint data graph. Earlier it only support get methods. Now it support post, put, patch, and delete method also. So this is the big update in Anypoint platform. And second one is it support 250 API per unified schema. Means unified schema is what data graph is doing all with all the APIs. Means it create a unified schema out of different APIs. So it suppose only 250 APIs per unified schema. Means we can add up to 250 APIs in in our one unified schema. So and it is a default one, and it is not fixed. Like we can increase this also. Means we have the settings, like we can increase based on the business requirement, but this is the default one, 250 APS. So if I show this thing, yeah. So this is the and one unified schema means per unified schema means it is based on the your environment. Means one environment only have single unified schema, not more than one. So I have only one sandbox. This is a trial account, so I have only sandbox environment, and in this environment we have only one unified schema, and in that schema we can add multiple APIs, like 250 APIs by default, but we can change that also. So this is the unified schema, and 250. And yeah, and 16,000 field per unified schema it support. Means there are fields like nested fields, and uh, how data are coming JSON format, so it support 16,000 fields. Means in your whole unified schema, suppose you, if you add 250 APIs in your schema, and it counts all those fields. Means when we try to fetch data using query, so it count like how many fields you are retrieving. So it suppose only 16,000 fields, right? And it, yeah, it only support raml and os specification. Like it will it not support other than this. And the Format it support data format is JSON only, not XML. So this is the Anypoint DataGraph supports, and there are restriction in downstream REST API call also, like 5-second timeout per call. Means when we try to call downstream APIs, so there is a limit like restriction within 5 seconds. If we are not receiving any data, so that will get a timeout error. We will get with a timeout error. And there is a depth limiting also, like 100 fields. Means when in a single API, suppose in a downstream REST API downstream call, when we call, so we get only 100 fields, not more than that. We can fetch only 100 fields. So that is its limitation. Like we cannot fetch more than 100 fields in a single API. And maximum of 5 MB response per data call, means the response data size is 5 MB, and maximum 150 concurrent or ongoing call per unified schemas. Means at a time we can call 150 APIs at a single time. It's supposed by default is 250 APIs per unified schema, but we can call up to maximum 150 concurrent call to that all the APIs. And there are also some query limits, like 30-second timeout per query. Means when we write a query to in a when we write a query, so in that time we have a timeout for query also, like 30 second for time 30 second for that query. It will not yeah, if it take more than that, then we end up with the error. And this is the same one, like 100 selected field per queries, like this one, depth limiting. It is same one only. It support only 100 fields. And in data graph we have the option like enable collaboration. So this is used when we want to link different APIs. Like we have a customer APIs and we have accounts APIs. So when you want to link those two APIs, so at that time we use this collaboration thing. I'll show you this in demo. And one thing to note here, like primary key always be a string type. Means primary key. We need a primary key. Like I already said, it is the same. Means data graph. It uses a query, right? And this query is same like your SQL query. Only the syntax is different, but yeah, behavior is almost same. So uh, primary key, there also in DB we have the primary key, right? So same thing we have to in APIs also we have to make our from all whatever fields you have in your APIs, we have to make one as a primary key out of that. And that is helpful when we that helps when we try to fetch data, so from multiple APIs. So that primary key is very useful in that scenarios. So and it is all, it should be a string type only. So any questions or any doubt till here?
Do we have any questions from anyone? Like, feel free to ask. We have enabled mics.
Yeah, hi Samir. Thank you for such a brief description about Anypoint data graph. I just want to have a question like 250 APIs per unified schema, right? So that is the
Yes.
default one. So
Yeah.
is there might be some limitation now. That means what is the maximum count of API?
Yeah, so in trial account, we have a limitation, like means we cannot increase this thing. Okay, means we have to increase all the other configuration also. Like we have to increase the worker, and this 250 APIs is means size of this. I'll show you way to increase. So just a second. Yeah. So see, this is the thing I'm talking about. Yeah, see this configuration. Like we have a concurrent call of 150 call, and out of that worker, like one worker, and we can increase these things. And in trial account, we have this only limitation is this one. And based on your org label, we can have a different setting also. Like in org level, we have different things. So this in trial, we have only these things.
Okay,
So
thank you.
this, yeah, uh, yeah. So now coming back to its authentication mechanism, it support this authentication types. This many like no auth, basic auth. These are, I hope you all have aware of this type of authentication. Recently, they added this OAuth 2.0 client credentials. Earlier, it was not in Anypoint DataGraph. So they added these things, and these are all same like we already used in our means APIs, like same client enforcement IDs and basic auth. So in demo purpose, we use no auth in our demo. So now one this is the uh, mm, sorry, this is the architecture, like API led architecture network. So one questions maybe comes in your mind, like where Anypoint DataGraph fits in this API led architecture. So so thing is that like any point data graph can be fits in any of the layers. Like it is not restricted to that. It should always come in experience APIs or process APIs. Means it can be in any of the layer, like system, process, and experience API. It completely based on your business requirement. Means what is your requirement. So like this is you all aware of this, like system, we have a system layer where we keep where we keep system APIs, like different system APIs to connect with the backend systems. And process layer, we have we build code logic here and basic orchestration, we are doing transformation. And in experience, we are exposing our data to the external clients and different clients. So this is all about API led connect network. So now we will look into this how Anypoint data graph sit in between this. So Anypoint data graph, like when it makes like in early in this slide we are using we are using marketing process API and sales process APIs, and one is experience API, like web API, right? So when we use Anypoint data graph, so we do not need to create a different APIs, different APIs. Like we can all combine in this unified schema, all in one. So we means if we have the requirement, like we only need two experience APIs and two process APIs, and that requirement is fulfilled within this data graph, then yeah, we can go ahead and use this data graph, and no need to create other experience or process APIs. So this is all about this. And in uh,
Yes,
in
Sabine,
the yeah, yeah, tell me.
interruption. So I have one question, like we suppose we have a scenario like we have only one experience and multiple system. In that case, which is a suitable place to add this data graph?
So yeah, that thing I'll come after this slide. Yeah, so yeah, that is based on your requirement. Means if we need experience APIs as well as the Anypoint data graph, means both the thing we want. So in that case we can keep both the things. Means it is not like limitation, like we use a data graph, then we cannot use other experience APIs or other process APIs. We can use that too with the data graph also. Okay, so thing is that like if the business requirement is fulfilled within this data graph, using this data graph, then it is well to go. And if it is not fulfilled with this Anypoint data graph, then we can, yeah, we can create one more process APIs and we can create one more experience APIs, and that will leverage the this system APIs. And one more thing, like Anypoint data graph is not a replacement for this API led connectivity or it architecture. Basically this Anypoint data graph is enhance the power of API led network, or it means it give a more power to this networks, and we can uh, mix or create this API's network more easily, uh, and fetch and deliver to the clients, means whatever uh, he needs.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
So yeah, coming back to your point, yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, so see here the thing is that our business requirement is not fulfilled within this unified schema, means within this data graph. Okay, so we end up with creating more process APIs, two more process APIs and one more experience APIs. So it is fine, we can create as many as we want, and we can place and we can also use this data graph also in the same network. So the main motto and main goal is like just we need to deliver whatever the client wants, and if it is delivered within this unified schema, then it is well, very well, means we have only single endpoints and we can give whatever he wants. And if it is not fulfilled, then we can go ahead with a different like process or experience APIs.
Samir, I had one question.
Yeah.
So what does data graph use in the background? I mean, does it get deployed on a worker, or like is it pay as you go, which like just like
Yeah,
Flex?
yeah, pay as you go. Means it is a SaaS, run as a SaaS software, right? SaaS application. So we do not need to worry about worker or its deployment things. Everything is taken care by your platform,
Okay, okay, okay.
and only the amount you use, like how many APIs you are adding in your data graph, and how many time you query your data, means basically the APIs. So you have to pay for this only.
Okay, okay, got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so any question till here before we move to our demo part?
Actually, there are two questions, Samir, from Nagendra and Anusha.
Yeah.
So
Can I go ahead?
Nagendra,
Yeah.
your mic is enabled, not able to speak.
Yeah, we can take up his question. So I think he's asking, data graph helps in aggregating the response from several systems and APIs. What happens when one of the systems is down and not returning any response?
Uh, so that is means we can handle that thing in our application level. Means Anypoint data graph doesn't do anything with that scenarios. That is all about fallback, or we can use the fallback tolerance, like or handling the when one system is down. So that thing we can handle in application level. Means we can create a one fallback APIs for that. So if one is down, we can get data from another APIs. But it only does means it not check that if it is up, then it will catch. So it only fetch whatever you are adding in Anypoint data graph. It just retrieve that data only.
Okay, does that answers your query, Nagendra? Let me know in the chat. And we have one question from Anusha. Like
Hmm.
it's mentioned it works only for JSON format. What can we do if the format is XML and I want to aggregate the XML data from two different APIs?
So that thing is not implemented yet in Anypoint DataGraph. Means that is the still one limitation or a drawback. Means we cannot do anything with XML data.
Okay.
Can we
All right.
can't convert that into JSON? Is there any
Uh,
that?
no, no. Means Anypoint DataGraph just want your JSON data. Okay, so
Okay.
before you sending that data to Anypoint DataGraph, you can convert it and send back that JSON format to Anypoint DataGraph. Then it will do his job.
Yeah. Okay.
Samir, we have a query like if from Nagin, like in that case, does it notifies that the client or the user in any ways that the system is down?
No, Nagendra. Uh, we don't have any such any such things in Anypoint DataGraph.
Okay.
We can monitor whatever APIs we are added in Anypoint DataGraph. We can monitor that thing, like how much time it how much response time it take to fetch that data from that APIs. So that monitoring thing is possible, but that is not what he is asked.
Okay. Anyone, any questions? Feel free to ask. You can continue, Samir, for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming back to demo part. For this, we need a few things like few basic things we need to know before adding into data graph, means API adding to a data graph. It should be always be a RAML or OS specification, and the API must be published into the Anypoint Exchange. Okay, and one more thing, like for this demo purpose, I have created this two means RAML account sys APIs and customer sys APIs. So yeah, so this is the customer sys APIs. So when we write a API specification for basically for using in a data graph, so we have to properly write the types, whatever types in we are using in our API specification, and if it is required or not, everything is properly defined. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it will throw error. So this is the basic rule we have to follow. So for this, I have two endpoints. Basically, one endpoint customers. It, one is get method and one is post. And post for creating that customer and get only retrieve the result. And we have one more for query the means using the URI params customer ID. By passing the customer ID, we get the response. So this is the dummy data. I am just putting it, and I have already published this thing into Exchange, both the APIs. Like we have one more like customer and one is account. So same thing I have did for account also. So just we have to means uh, take properly taken care of this type, means whatever type we are using in data types basically. See, for this we have account type and strings. These are all properly defined, right? And same like we have account resource one, and one is uh, get using the URI params. And for this account sys APIs, I am only using get. I am not using the post method. So here we have two URI params. One is get customer I one is get account by customer ID, and another one is get account by account ID. So we have two things, and I already published this in an exchange. These two. And when we publish, so make sure you have published as a stable version, so it work only in stable, not development. So that is one more thing you have to take care. And for this demo purpose, we can use the mocking service also, like mocking URL. No need to deploy this into a cloud. We can deploy it also, but for this I already deployed it. Or means there are two options. We can either use the cloud hub URL, means deployment, or we can use the mocking also from Exchange. So one is deployed, accounts is API, so we can use one for one using this URL. So now coming back to data graph. So all the basic things I already told you, like what first thing is, like we have to create a API specification. Second is we have to deploy, we have to publish that into Exchange. And third thing, yeah, that's two thing. And now we have to add it in the endpoint data graph. So we have to add, and here it shows all the APIs that are already published in Exchange. So currently we have only two APIs, one is customer and one is account. So it displays this only two. So we'll select account first, click next. So it shows the current version and asset version. So yeah, these are the latest one. So confirm. So here we have a two option, like we can, if you already deployed your API to Cloud Hub and you are already managing in any point API manager, then you can use this. Means it shows here your version, means your basically the Anypoint API manager URL. But if you are not managing it, then just add URL here. So we are not managing anything from that, so just add our cloud hub URL. And just add the base path, like in implementation I have just added the base path as an API, so I have added this in that API. Now click next. So here is the authentication. So these are the authentication for your underlining, means your downstream APIs, not for this data graph. Means when you try to when you connect, add your account, suppose for this APIs, accounts is APIs, you are adding accounts is APIs, and if any authentication, it is already using any authentication type like basic or a client credential, then you have to select that thing and provide your details. So in our use case, like accounts is API is not using any authentication, so I have just choose as a no. I have not using any authentication in accounts APIs. So now click next. Mm, so, yeah. So here is the Just information about your schemas and all. So first thing is the query. Uh, yeah, here it shows the method, means in this account sys APIs, what are the methods it has. So account by ID and account by customer ID. This only three is method we have, right? So it displays this thing. And if you have properly defined your API specification, like description, so everything will be displayed here. Like I have not defined any description for this, so it is not showing anything. And one more thing, like this account, yeah. So yeah, this one. So it also display the fields, means whatever fields you have defined in your API specification. So, like we have the account address. So these many fields we have already defined in API specification. So it also here. So you can check here, and you can check the field name and data type also, and you can rename also. Next we can see the yeah, here. See, we can rename the method as well, and we can rename the field also. Means suppose you want to rename some of the fields, then you can rename fields. From here you can rename the fields also. So this is the thing, and here are few things to explain. Like first is collaboration. So collaboration is very useful when we, means it is necessary actually when we have to link different APIs. Uh, suppose say for example, we have order API and we have product API, and from order API we have the order details like order ID, order status, order date, these three fields. Okay, and in product API you have product ID, basically the product information like product model number, everything. And we want, the requirement is like I want to fetch product information with the help of order ID. Means I have given the order ID like 123, and I want to fetch all product details associated with that order ID. Then in that scenarios, means if we go with the REST approach, then we have to call order API first, get the product ID out of that, take that product ID, and then again call product API to get fetch all the product information, complete product information. So, and if we are go with the Anypoint DataGraph, then we have to just do these things. Means when we already add two API in this Anypoint DataGraph, we need to enable this collaboration and link these two API. Basically, we have to link uh, we have to link this product APIs and order API. So this is the about collaboration. Means when we want to link or merge different object, then in that case we have to enable these things. So in our case we have to we want to link, so we can enable these things. So we can link like account by account ID. So it only shows the your query. Basically the URI query it shows like on the basis of what you want to link. So I want to link on the basis of account ID. So account by account ID, on the basis of account ID I link this account object to different object. So click next. Now we have to select a primary key. So account ID is the primary key here, so I can go with account ID. Account ID, yeah. Just click confirm. So this is the, and this is the details of fields. So yeah, and this is the link I am talking about, this link. So we can add link to another type. Means we can link this account type to different types. I mean different types means, or different object means different APIs. Means suppose if we add different APIs, so we can link this account to different APIs. But in our case I haven't added any different APIs till now. So we have only one that we are already at. means we are going to add right account. So it is not showing any other account, not showing any other APIs. So after adding this, we can add one more API. Then we then at that time we can link this account to different object. And this is the merge. Merge is basically the difference between link and merge is merge actually merge your two different object into a single object. Means suppose say for example we have two APIs, one is customer and one is employee, and in both the APIs we have a similar fields. Means most of the fields are similar, like in customer also we have first name, in employee also we have first name. So basically if uh, means fields are almost same in different APIs, we can use merge. So it will what it will do, it will uh, collaborate your data. It will basically merge two different APIs and create a single uh, object out of that. And in single object you have all the fields, means whatever fields you want. So there is also option like we can enable or disable fields also. So here if you see visible. So if you click this hidden, so it will not show. And so you can enable and disable also based on your requirement. You can do that one also. So this is all about merge. And the link is basically when we want to link, like when datas are interrelated and from one APIs to look into from one APIs we are getting one data, and from that data we want to fetch uh, data from another APIs. So in that scenarios we have to use link. So yeah, so that is all. Now click next. So now it is adding APIs in unified schema. So it will not take 15 minutes. It will around take 3-4 minutes to create your unified schema. So see, it is updating and adding your API. So now, any question till here? Means while it updating, any questions, any doubt? So here is the first one is the overview. So it will display the overview of your Anypoint DataGraph information. Like this is the URL, single endpoints. From these single endpoints, we can query whatever we want. And these are all the details like business group, environment, and APIs. And this is the list of APIs we added. Currently, it is accounts is APIs we are adding, right? So when we add multiple APIs, it will show here like how many APIs you have added. And this is the response log. So this is basically you using for troubleshooting, like if we get any error we can check the log. So this is the from when we run the query we can see the logs. There is no log, right? We haven't run any query, so that's why it is empty. So it is updated now. So let's run the query. So for running query, we have to create application, means client application, or so just create one application. I have not created any application yet. So just create one application. So this is the page where we run the query and get the result. So, and if you press control and space, control plus space, so it will give you the suggestion, like based on your schema it will suggest what are the methods you already have in your APIs. So currently we have accounts, account by ID and account by customer ID. So just try to fetch the account first. So in account, what fields we have? We have these many fields. So account ID we have, then again description. So just try to run this first. So see, based on this, whatever we have written, we get the result. Uh, so if I want more fields, then just have to enter this thing, means field name basically. When and based on whatever you have sent in a query, you get the result. So this is the power of Anypoint DataGraph. Means whatever you want, just have to write in a query. You do not need to create a separate APIs or using any transformation behind the scene. You can change in the query. So this is the dynamic query. So currently, these are the. So let's check this. Yeah. So this is one thing. Like now we can check with get account by account ID. So, so here we have the query. We have to pass the URI params, right? So the syntax is like this. We have to pass account ID and then pass the any dummy value, means account ID. So and it's always be a string format. So just you have to write this and say for address I want. So it will display this. Okay. So now
Samir, there is a question in the chat from
yeah.
Aniruddha. So, how do we handle authentication in case of multiple APIs being queried?
So in okay, I'll show you in the demo just a second. So we have add one API, right? So in that time there is an option like authentication, means various authentication like client credential or 2.0. So these are the authentication we have to add at the time of adding APIs in Anypoint DataGraph. So suppose your underlining APIs have some authentication mechanism. So that authentication you have to add in data graph also. Means it's credentials.
Okay. Question from Pooja. So,
Yeah.
how can we leverage this feature in flows? How to use unified fields or tables? Does this create a new endpoint?
Uh, Unified fields. Can you come again? I didn't get.
So, how can we leverage this
Hmm.
feature in flows? How to use unified fields or table? Does this create
Uh,
a new endpoint?
I can explain it. So
Yeah.
my
Yep,
question
yep.
somewhere is, so since we have joined, multiple APIs, right? And since you mentioned that this will create a new table, right? This is something that we are doing a unification of data right here.
Hmm.
So if I want to leverage this feature in my flows, I want to utilize this unified data or whatever table that is being created, how we can utilize.
So you want to use these features in means
Yeah,
flow in
flows.
the sense means application means.
Yes.
So you can means you can query the data. Okay, like same thing I show you. Means using query we can query the data whatever we want, and with that data you can do anything with that data, means whatever operation you can perform within the flow you
Okay.
can want.
So I
Yeah.
need to query. I need to query. So is this a new table or endpoint which will be created by this
Yeah,
process?
just we need the endpoint. I'll show you in the postman. It will clear.
Is this a new endpoint which has been created here?
Yeah, yeah, new endpoint
Got
means
it.
one endpoint for per unified schema. Okay, so this is the endpoint.
Got it.
This is the
Got
single endpoint. And if you want your data to be used in within the flow or any flow, so just you need to query this endpoint, get the result, and perform your operations on that data.
Yes, yes, makes sense.
Yeah, just like REST API call. So this is, yeah, uh, I quickly add another APIs, then we can check in the Postman also. So we already added accounts is APIs. Now go with the customer. So now we have the mocking one. It is already picked up. So yeah, one thing here to point out one thing. So while using this mocking service, make sure you have make your API public as a public. So mm, so in customer sys API, just make this as a public. Yeah, so this one. So by default it is not public. So because we are using outside to the platform, right? Means outside world, so just we have to make this as a public, then only we can use the mocking. Yeah, so it already picked up this mocking URL. Just click next. So this is the authentication. Someone asked like how to take care of this authentication or security. So if any API underlining API is using any of this authentication, then you can go ahead and just provide this authentication credentials, and it will do your job. Means what it will basically it will taken care of all these things. So you no need to worry. So just click not for our use case. And if you have the mutual authentication as well, then you can configure the key store and trust store as well. So if your any of the APIs using mutual authentication needs, then in that case you can configure these things. So now review schema. Hmm. So here one thing to notice, like in earlier use case, we have only operation type as a query, right? Because in that customer APIs, we only have the get methods. Now we have one more mutation. So mutation is basically post. So here is the method name, create customers. So in customer APIs, we already created one post method. So that is what comes under mutation. Query means get call. Mutation means it consider post, put, patch, and delete. So all comes under mutations. So this is the type, and this is the label one type. Means it shows the methods. Means within a customer method, what are the methods you have within customer object? Basically, it is the object and what are the methods within that. So we have two methods, customers and customer by customer ID. So same thing, like we have a different, it shows the fields and its data type. Now we can add this is the and this input type is basically comes when we use mutation. Means if you noticed earlier in accounts APIs, we don't have these fields, input types. So input types basically means what type of input you are passing while sending the query. So this is the input type. So input type is nothing, just a method. Means create method, create customers. So now click next. Yeah, so just now we have to enable collaboration for this one also. to link this to object customer by customer, and we need to select the uh, primary key for this one. So we have a customer id as a primary key here. So just select the customer id, confirm. Yeah, so now all done. Just we need to link this customer to account. So see, now we can see the account one, right? So just click this account, and this is the source, means our source is customer. So in customer which field we want to link, from which field to which field. So in customer we have a primary key like customer id, right? So using that customer id we want to link account id in account object. Yeah, I repeat once more. In this link we have to select source and target. So here target is account, and their primary key is account id, and we have to select custom means for primary key for customer one, means from which field we want to link this account. So basically we want to link customer id with account id. So just we need to select that one. And if you, yeah, see here fields are this. Okay, now when we do the link, one more field will be populated here. Okay, just after save this thing, just click on the save. Yeah, see, now account, it's showing link. This is the link. It is also display here. Link object is a link to this customer one. So now we can query customers with means account within the customers. I'll show you how in the query. So just now click next. Hmm. So again it takes some time to add. So now we can use the postman to query. Just I have copied this URL. Go to the postman and for postman we have to pass client id and client secret. So from where we get this client id and client secret, uh, here just we have to, means many options are there. We can from API manager, client application also we can get these things, or access manager, access management from there also. So one easy option is just click on this copy and share query. So here is the client id and client secret as well as this URL. So copy this client id, paste it here, copy this secret. Yeah, now it is done. Now we can query. So we already added the account one, right? So just first query for account ID. Accounts. This is, yeah. So the endpoint was accounts. I was using account, so that's why it is showing here. So see, the data is coming here. It is deployed at that. So from Postman, how we can the same thing means whatever query we performed in Anypoint DataGraph UI, we can do same thing in Postman also, or any external request from whichever you are using. You can request the same URL and get a result. So this is the thing now. Just a second, we want to check what other one it is. So now try to run this thing first. We added customer. It is not coming up. So when it is done, it coming up here like customers. So it is not. So it is currently adding. So yeah. So meanwhile, I can show you. So this is the history. So history showing whichever query we are using. So these are all query we are using, right? So these are the queries we can check here, history, and explore schema. It will give the details of your schema. So currently means when with only one API is added account, so in that we have only query one, not mutation, and within that query we have three methods, one accounts, account ID, and account by customer IDs. So this is the schema showing up the schema here. And now this one is the copy and share query. So from here we can copy the details of credentials and as well as the query also. So you have the curl also. You can send curl or a GraphQL query, both. So both the options are there. And second is the trace query. So trace query is let me show you what. Yeah. So trace query is useful when we want to track the performance of your APIs or methods, means underlining APIs. So suppose in query you are using means in query you are sending calling different APIs, different fields also. So which API took how much time? So it will display here, like it will parsing 6 millisecond it took, validation how much time it took, and for account object how much time it. And so this is the details one, like we can track the record of query. So this is useful in like when we want to meet the SLA, like if your underlining APIs has some SLA requirement, like uh, so in such case in such scenarios it is very useful. We can track the performance, like we need to tune up our APIs or we need to change the query. So we can do all these things with this trace thing. We can track basically. So second one is third is the download schema. So we can download the schema also, means it will show you here. So it is not. Yeah, so this is the complete schema of your Anypoint data graph. Means we have added two APIs, right? So it will combine all the schemas and displayed in one. Like see, customer one also there and account is also there. Yeah, the first one is the account. So if you had added, I mean, uh, two API, three APIs, how many API doesn't matter. It will create a unified schema for you. So this is the download thing. Now response log I already said, like this is useful for troubleshooting errors or checking the logs. And credentials, we can check the credentials also, the same thing, like client id and client secret. And yeah, so, we can switch the application also, like currently we have only one application, like client app. So if you have multiple applications, or if you have already client id and client secret using, then you can switch your application meanwhile. So now the two apis are already added. You can check here. See, we have two apis added. Now we can run the query. So first we can check for customers. So customer, we have first name, we have last name. What are the fields we have? We have address, email. Yeah, email also. We have the email. Just to run this thing. See, we have these many details, right? Uh, Now I want to these are all get, right. Now I'll show you the first query. Customer by customer ID. So customer ID. So we can query the customer by customer ID also, and we can use the query variable also. Means we can externalize the variable. So how can we do this? Just you have to make a query here. Before this, we have to write query and create one variable. So syntax is like symbol, dollar, and any name you want for your variable, and pass as a string, because it only supports string. So you have to mention the data type, which data type means data type of the ID. And at last you have to pass the exclamation mark, because this marks it denotes that it cannot be null, means it is nullable. This ID is nullable, so it means that. So you have to pass this thing. So after that you have to pass here, you have to create here, pass here basically the id 1233, and here just you have to uh, it's control plus space, and it will take the dollar id. Now just send the same result we are getting, right? So this is the means how we can use the variable, query variable. Now we can use check for the mutation. So query we can use for any type of query, like get. Mm, yeah, just you have to write the query for using the query. And if you are not writing the query when you call get method, then it's fine, means it will take. But in case of mutation, you have to write mutation, then only it will uh, take the mutation. So in mutation we have a create customer. So just write a create customer, and it will suggest you the methods also, means what are the methods it will support. So input, we have to pass the input, and then space, control, and within bracket we have to pass what are the customers we have. First name, so we have to pass first name. I'll copy this one. Yeah, this one. These are the fields we need. See, it is the message customer successfully created. When if any one field is mandatory and we are not passing it that as a field, so it will throw error. So, for example, first name is mandatory. Now we try to send. See the validation error. So it will check like whichever fields in API specification you put as a mandatory, so it will check for that fields. And if it is present, then well and good. If it is not, then it will throw error. So yeah, so this is about the mutation, and we only have one. So we can use this thing, means from Postman also, same thing. So yeah, we can copy this thing. Hmm. See the result. So this is the single endpoints we are using. Means from external application we can use this single endpoints and get the result. Just we have to pass the query. Means method will be post, and in the query you have to pass this query. Means whatever query you want. Means whatever data you want. Just you have to pass as a query, and you will get the result. So this is the thing. And yeah, any questions till here?
I think we have few questions from Aniruddha and Nipur. So Aniruddha, you can speak out. I think your mic is enabled. So he is asking if the underlying APIs are mapped to different clients, do we then create a unified client to call GraphQL endpoint?
No, no. So
Okay.
if your underlying APIs only have any security mechanism like authentication mechanism, then you have to mention that thing in data graph.
Okay. And one more question is from Nupur is like, is there any way to handle primary key as a numeric as it handles only the string type?
No, no, no. Means it is the it only support string data graph. Yeah. It will not support any other data types as a primary key.
So any other questions from anyone? Thank you, Nupur.
Yeah, so yeah, and one more thing, like in data graph, it also have a good tutorial like videos tutorials. Means every uh, whichever things you have like collaboration, linking, merging. Yeah, so you just you can watch this video and get more details about like how it works and what does it mean, linking, merging, and other things. So this is very useful. And yeah, I think coverage. Hmm, yeah, and the response log, yeah, this is the response we are getting. If any error, it will throw error and it will display the logs like what is the reason, and it will show all these things, the query, whatever query you performed, it will log these things. Mm, yeah, and you can also modify these things like suppose yeah, means in future my API is updated, my version is updated, and now I want to use the latest one. So you can use that one also. Just you have to go to the your list of APIs and which APIs you want to update your API version. So just click on that and go to the API details. Yeah, and now you can update the version. You can update the URL also if the URL is changed, and if they change the authentication type, then you can also add the authentication. So means in future also you can change these things. And the one more thing, yeah, I'll show you how to monitor these things. So if you go to the API manager, yeah. So I have already deployed one account sys APIs, and I already manage it in Endpoint API manager. So it is displayed here, and here you will see the data graph administration one, and here you can see these things like it will display the consumer endpoints, and you can, by default it is client ID enforcement, like in Postman if we are passing client ID and client secret, right? That is because of this. So if you don't want to use this, you can disable that thing, or you can means you can add the SLA also. And this is the SLA. You can add the SLA on your GraphQL endpoint if you want, and it will display the details of client as well, like which client you are using. And and here is the Anypoint. You can explore your data graph schema as well, and if you can monitor the log also, like I'll show you the monitoring platform. See, this is the combined result of your Anypoint data graph. See, we have two APIs that are already, one is Cloud Hub and one is mocking URL as means, and another is the data graph. So when I use the data graph as an option, so it will display the whatever request that uh, means whatever requests that come into a data graph. So it will display that thing in a graphical format. So we can check these things, means monitor that thing, like if it is failure, anything, or request or response or performance. We can monitor all those things using this monitoring tool. So that is one thing. And yeah, and any questions, any doubt, any query?
No more questions in the chat. So are you done
Okay.
from your side or still?
Yeah, yeah, agree. I'm done.
Okay. So any questions from anyone? So before moving to trivia, I think Shubham, we can go for trivia quickly.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Samir, for the detailed explanation.
Thanks, Giri. Thanks, Suvan.
Yeah, thanks, Amish. So, all right. So we are playing the quiz on Kahoot. So go to kahoot.it and I'll share the pen.